What's up, guys? Welcome to the Half Amazing TV YouTube channel. I am Johnny Fontana and I'll be bringing to you nightclub tips, news, tutorials, and of course disagreements.
We're just some men that's on the mic, and when we rock up on the mic, we rock the mic.
Johnny Fontana, Half Amazing TV, bringing to you nightclub tips, news, tutorials, and of course disagreements. I'm coming to you here with a nice little tutorial on the process of setting your loops during a mix, and it's pretty basic, but there's certain things that I need to explain so that you have a better understanding of what's going on. And you can basically do this with any kind of mix, whether it be you're mixing tech house, progressive, EDM, as they call it nowadays, funk, deep house, soulful, whatever floats your boat, right? And this question comes from Giovanni J. He's actually a blogger. I'm gonna link his website down below. You can check it out. And he asks this question. It says, how do I go about finding compatible loops on two tracks? For example, should track one's loop be something in the beginning of the song or end of the song? At the same time, does it make sense to find the loop on track number 2 that mixes in first and having it ready before dropping it in slowly into the first track? Let me know if that makes better sense. The reason why I said that is because he actually asked me, and I wasn't sure what he was talking about in his first question. Now, let's go ahead and dig into this question. Okay, so he says, for example, should track one's loop be something in the beginning of the song or the end of the song? Okay, right here he's talking about placement. Okay, now placement, when you set in loops, it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, it all depends on what style of music you're playing, when, how you're playing it. So if you're playing a more impactful type of genre, progressive, then it'll depend. You can set your loops during the intro, the outro, the breakdowns. So there are different types of tricks and methods that you can use. Okay, now let me make you guys understand one thing. There's a lot of talk about how you are supposed to know your music and it doesn't really matter what tools you use. Well, there is truth to that, but to a certain extent. Okay, nowadays you are using DVS, you are familiar with the visual aid, okay, the grid system, especially with the newer models of the CDJs, as well as these DVS systems like Serato and Traktor and the others. Okay, so now what happens if you now have to use a secondary piece of equipment other than your primary, which is your DVS, okay, or a newer model of CDJ? If you now have to resort to using a secondary tool, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to have the advanced tools as you have using your DVS system, and so therefore your workflow and your delivery is going to be a little bit different. Okay, now you can still get the job done, but it's just not going to be as efficient and advanced, and you won't have as many options as you would have had with your primary tool. Okay, it's the same thing on a construction job. If you go to a construction site and someone is using a tool that it may not be his primary tool, guess what? He'll still get the job done, but it won't be as efficient, or as he won't get it as done quickly as he would have if he was using his primary tool, just based on the advancement of the tools. All right, so with that being said, let's get into the actual setting of loops. Okay, now you actually see how I have my music organized. Okay, I'm using two sort of deep house, funky, whatever you want to call them, tracks. Okay, I have them located in my main folder, which is the deep, lounge, soulful, but they're basically percussive, groove, tech, funk. Okay, so all of those sort of match these two tracks that I'm about to play. Okay, and then I have them in here. Notice how I have everything organized. I have all my main folders, then I have all the different subfolders. Okay, so it's all about organizing your tracks, so I can actually hang out in one subfolder for like days, you know. And what I do in order to get to know my music is I'll just insert this folder or a few folders into my iPod or into my USB, and I can just, you know, listen to it on my way to work or anywhere, and I just get to know that individual folder, and then I'll just switch it out from time to time. So that's how I get to know my music. All right, so now we're talking about set loops. All right, so now here is a track. Let me go ahead and press record. Here's a track. Let's go ahead and pop this in. So we have this track here. This is our primary track coming in. It's a nice funk, deep, percussive, or whatever you want to call it, right? And you already know this track, obviously, you've heard it before, obviously, so you know what to expect, you know how it ends. And let's just say, for example, you're not really interested in going or doing any types of trickery. You want to get a nice little loop in there, right? So you figure out, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take the end of it and loop. Okay, perfect. So now, as the song is playing, you now are listening to this track right here. Okay, so now obviously there's a difference in sound. It's a little, the kick is not as full. It's a little bit more wide. And so you're trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to loop this? Okay, is there a need to loop it in the first place? Okay, like I said, it all depends on what you're doing. So for example, let's say I want to place a loop here. I can use that as well. Depends on how I'm feeling. You know, if I want a little bit more energy, I can put it in here. But for me, I feel that there's just a little too much going on. So I want to put it here so that there's not as much going on, and still it can develop, and I can have this track ride, these two tracks ride together. So when it gets to here, I can remove this track and we have a good solid mix. All right, so let's go ahead and get this started. All right, now with this track right here, okay, now before we get into that, let me just explain something to you right here real quick. See right here, I have it set at 4 bars, right? Now it just doesn't sound full. It doesn't sound as if the loop is reaching its peak, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and extend it to 8 bars, and it does that nice full loop. All right, so then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this track and I'm going to ride it throughout the course of this track, so that it comes in a little bit more smooth and it sounds like an actual nice delivered mix. All right, let's go. Now what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to bring this track in a little bit at a time. Now I'm doing everything manually now. I'm not using the CDJs. So as you can see, everything is here on my laptop, right? I have my settings. You hear it coming in a little bit? See, it sounds like it's part of the track. See, nice and slow. Obviously, if I was mixing using my EQs on the mixer, it would be a little bit more smoother, but what's good about this loop is that this track here is not on the beat actually, so the kick is out. So I don't really have to worry about the levels too much. Now I'll set my loop. See? Now, one thing to remember here, right, is that this track, the kick is gonna come in a little bit more wide, all right? It's not as punchy as this one. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna, see, on time, you give it a couple bass, a couple loops, and in your mind you figure it out, and I let it go. See? Now when this one kicks in, it allows people to now adjust to this new sound, and you see how it's going now? And I'm just going to slowly bring this one down. Now I'm doing it manually, so it's not going to be perfect because I'm not using my EQs, but still, you have an idea. And you don't want to bring it down. A lot of times people want to rush and just bring it down quickly. Guess what? You have a loop. If you need to adjust the loop, you just manually adjust it, and you just let it ride. Because at this point in time, unless you're really paying attention, you don't really hear this. But if I let it go, you'll hear that difference. That's why you keep it up a little bit. It's all about timing and knowing your loops and your bars. And you come in, I can let it go and come back. And then I'll just slowly release it. And you know, it's out right now. So that's basically the loop. If you have any questions, just go ahead and leave a comment down below. But I think I pretty much covered everything. Now this was just a basic loop. There are different ways that you can loop. For example, if I want to loop here in the middle where it's a little bit more busy, if I wanted to loop at this breakpoint with this breakpoint, I could have done that as well. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve and how slick you're trying to be, you know, how creative you're trying to be, and how smooth. But remember, don't try to get too ahead of yourself and try to place loops randomly, and all of a sudden you find yourself throwing up your prayers because things just don't go well together. So you see, these tracks go well together, and you can hear that the elements are similar, but they are two different tracks, you see. And you can tell by the kick on this one, it's a little bit less wide. A little less full and a bit more wide. So, but there you have it. Johnny Fontana, Half Amazing TV. Leave your comments down below. If you have a specific tutorial you want me to take care of you, just let me know, and I'll go ahead and try my best. All right, Johnny Fontana, Half Amazing TV, and we out.
Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Fucking thing sucks.